are good. We are quite satisfied, but I believe this is just the beginning of a positive period because we reinforced the innovation of the company. We launched a number of new initiatives, primarily connected to artificial intelligence in our platforms, aircraft, helicopters, and multi-domain interoperability. So we believe this is the way to pursue for the future in terms of technology. Of course, we have to ask ourselves what will be the future in Europe, given the geopolitical situation, which is rather unclear at the moment. I think all the defense companies in Europe have to create alliances. We have to make Europe stronger and especially a more reliable partner for the NATO alliance on one hand, but on the other hand, we have to be a continent which is ready to defend itself. I mean, our east border is not safe. This has to be clear to everybody.
You talk about the need for alliances. There have been some alliances between your company and some of your rivals here in terms of procurements, in terms of R&D, joint R&D, but it's still an incredibly fragmented market. Again, in terms of procurement, in terms of R&D, pooling resources, manufacturing platforms, software is incredibly outdated. Are we ready for this challenge?
No, we're not. I think we have two main problems. The first one is that the 27 member states are not, uniform in their evaluation and their strategies. And of course, national fragmentation does not help Europe to act like a continent. From the industrial point of view, I think you can compare the procurement in defense done by Europe with the one done by United States. I think we are around one half of the value of procurement to the United States per year. But in the European case, you have to allocate that amount of money, which is huge, hundreds of billions, on at least 30 different platforms. Every country, every big member state wants to develop its own aircraft, its own truck, its own gun, its own weapon. And of course, this fragmentation in investment doesn't make technology to be really competitive. If you see in the United States, they invest more, but they have a dozen of platforms. And so the investment per platform is much higher, and so the technology is very likely much better.
Roberto, I just spoke to Dmytro Kuleba yesterday. He says the US isn't going to defend Europe, and we've got to get really, really serious about our defence. Do you think the shoe is dropping across European governments?
Well, as I said, I think Europe is called to make a decision at the moment. Either we act like a continent, or if you want to continue to act like 27 independent states, and with an umbrella of regulation and over-regulation, we don't go far. It's a matter of responsibility. Now we have to make our own choices. The big companies have the social responsibility to create alliances and to favor states to collaborate more efficiently than in the past.
What about the conversations you have with the Italian government, Roberto? You know a lot about the Italian government. You were part of one as well. They're nowhere near 2% as well still, despite this existential threat that Western Europe faces. Why the reluctance to spend money?
Well, there's a cultural, first of all, there's a cultural attitude, and second, budget constraints. However, the good thing now is that Europe seems to be favorable in removing the defense expenditure from the Stability Act. That means that this will not contribute to the yearly deficit, to the yearly debt. So that actually makes available quite an amount of money for further investment. And I think this is very important to make the country and the entire continent safer.
Roberto, the Eurozone usually only steps up during a crisis. Is this a crisis that calls for joint borrowing?
This is a crisis that lasts since 3 years. I'm still convinced, as a European citizen, as a technical person, and as an industrialist, as a manager, that we cannot accept a country to invade another country in the 21st century. I mean, this is really middle-age approach, and I don't think it's acceptable anymore. We didn't learn anything from the Second World War. I can't believe this. Having said this, it's time that Europe makes a clear analysis of what we have to do. I think we have to behave like a continent. We need common finance, common army. The important things have to be shared. Otherwise, we are not a continent. So I think it's a crucial moment that comes after a big crisis.